Peter Khalil, welcome back to Afternoon Briefing. We're expecting the Chinese Premier to arrive in Australia in just days. I know driving into Parliament House this morning, there's already security preparations underway here in Canberra for when he arrives on Monday. Has the PJCIS, the committee that you chair, been briefed about some of the potential security implications of this visit, protest activity, things like that?
G'day, Matt. Yeah, look, not specifically on those matters. We conduct oversight over intelligence agencies and law enforcement more generally. But the Prime Minister's welcoming Premier Li to Australia. It's a very important visit, the first to Australia by a Chinese Premier since 2017. And, another, I think, important step towards stabilising our relationship with China. And both leaders, the Prime Minister and Premier Li, will be conducting that annual leaders meeting, and they're going to go into a lot of depth into our bilateral relationship, the regional issues, international issues, our trade and economic relationship. And of course, this is important because for us as a government, it has been really a priority to ensure that we pursue a stable and a direct relationship with China, that bilateral relationship, and dialogue has to be at its core. And it's really an important step in the right direction towards stabilising the relationship and reducing tensions both in the region and in the bilateral relationship as well.
Given the way that some of the pro-China and anti-China groups in Australia operate, do you expect that there will be some tension over the course of this next couple of days while the Premier is in Australia?
Well, Australia's a democratic nation, and one of our fundamental rights as citizens is to have free and peaceful protests, and people are perfectly entitled to conduct that free protest, that peaceful protest. People have different views in the Chinese diaspora. We have almost 1 million Australians of Chinese descent. It's not one monolithic bloc. Individuals and community and groups have different views around politics and regional issues, and they're entitled to express their views freely. And we'll protect that right, of course. And often you get these type of protests and other activities during visits of foreign leaders. I think with respect to the security implications, I would hope, and I'm sure, that they would be conducted peacefully, whether it's in Canberra or any other part of Australia.
More broadly on the Australia-China relationship, how difficult is it for someone like Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to be talking up the strength of the relationship with China or the room for improvement there when we still have at its core some inherent tensions between Canberra and Beijing? If we look at things like cybersecurity, we know that intelligence agencies have been very concerned about how China backs malicious cyber activity online. How do you balance those competing interests, wanting to strengthen the thing up, but also noting those tensions that exist?
It's a great question, Matt, because it's a complex relationship, and I think the Prime Minister has summarised that by saying Australia will agree where we can and disagree where we must, as a sort of a summary principle, if you like. And Australia continues to speak out as necessary on issues that matter to Australia and matter to our national interest. So we're going to cooperate with China where we can. It's an important economic relationship. It's critically important for Australians and our economy. Some 25% of our exports go to China. But of course, we're going to disagree where we must, and that where we can and have raised issues, whether it's human rights issues, whether it's issues that pertain to our national interest, whether it's issues around some of the activities, for example, the actions taken by the PLA that were unsafe and unprofessional with respect to Australian naval, helicopters and the flares or Navy divers. These matters were raised directly with our counterparts, as they should be. We've been conducting our foreign policy as a responsible player in respect to the relations that we have both with China and across the region. And our focus is to de-escalate tensions in the region, de-escalate tensions with our partners in the region, but also in our bilateral relationship with China, because it is actually really important that we support and protect that liberal rules-based order, the rules of the road around trade and security, because it's in our national interest. Prosperity comes from being able to trade peacefully with countries across the region. Certainly for Australia's prosperity, that is fundamental. So anything we can do to reduce tensions in that respect is of critical importance, and that's the kind of basis of our engagement at these leadership levels. And I think it's a very important step to have this visit in the coming week.
Do you think that Premier Lee will, or indeed should, be told by the Prime Minister and other Australian officials that regarding the plight of Young Hen Jun, the Australian writer detained in China, that he should be allowed to serve out his jail term here in Australia on what many have been describing as medical grounds, or sort of a medical parole?
Well, as you would be aware, and viewers would be aware, the Australian government continues our advocacy surrounding Mr. Yang's circumstance. And I know that the Deputy Prime Minister, actually, Richard Marles, raised the matter directly with his counterpart, Admiral Dong, at the Shangri-La dialogue in the past week. And I've said before, maintaining that open dialogue with China is important when you're looking to advocate for Australians in circumstances like Mr. Yang's, and keeping that pathway of communication open is actually critical, so that you can engage on those issues and you can raise matters in those channels, those communication channels. As far as what the Prime Minister and Premier Lee are going to be discussing, obviously I'm not at those meetings, Matt, but I'm very sure that there's going to be a lot of discussion around a range of issues, and we very much welcome, as I said, because of the open communication channels and the opportunity to raise issues that matter to Australia. That's going to be an important meeting in that respect.